bill has various different aspects to it. It actually addresses immigration across the world. There's clearly the US has significant problem with undocumented workers, so it's trying to address issues around that.
Right.
It's obviously trying to address the critical issue that affects the Indian industry around the H-1B visas. So for the purposes of our discussion today, we'll
just stick to that, yeah.
Focus on the H-1B and L-1 visas. It's a huge debate. It's an emotional subject for many. It has serious implications.
Right.
But fundamentally, what I believe the US is trying to do, or the policymakers are trying to do, is address the needs of the US economy at multiple levels. Number one, address it so that high-skilled labor continues to come into the country for innovation and to continue to help our startup organizations and product R&D organizations. Secondly, it's trying to ensure that by means of this bill, it is not being used so extensively for outsourcing and offshoring, which in many ways has been viewed by the American citizenry and the senators as potentially a way that American workers get displaced. So it is trying to protect American workers. And then finally, I guess there's a lot of cumbersome aspects of the process of H-1Bs and green cards, which is also, it seems, it's trying to address across the multiple categories. Create more mobility for workers, ensure that the green card processing is done at a faster pace and a better pace.
Right.
But at a macro level, it's trying to address the needs of high-skilled immigration in the US.
So is it by any stretch of imagination targeted at the Indian companies? Because that is what NASSCOM and others, the rhetoric back home seems to be, that essentially this bill is primarily targeting the Indian companies and it's going to really hurt the Indian companies in a big way. Is there any truth in that?
I guess the way I see this is that the Indian companies have been the largest beneficiary of the H-1B program thus far. This program has been used quite extensively by the large Indian majors. It's been used quite extensively by the global majors, the likes of IBM and Accenture.
Right.
And to the extent that this bill is changing the policies around H-1B, it is likely to have the greatest impact on folks that currently use it the most.
So Indian industry will get impacted. Services industry will get impacted.
I would imagine so, because the bill has a lot of provisions that impact the
basic business model,
the basic elements of how the H-1B process will work in the future. Now, listen, this thing is not passed yet. This is a bill. It's going to get debated at multiple levels across the enterprise, and it's one of those considerations that has to be worked across, the Senate and Congress. So it's not passed yet. It's something that...
but why now? I mean, why... isn't it true that the US companies have benefited economically in their core business model, and they have done it by bringing in workers from offshore? It's been going on for 20 years. So is it now feeling that enough is enough? Now we can go on our own, or is it that they've paid a lot of money, now let's kind of stem the flow, or is it that we are really hurting, so we should do something about it?
Yeah, I guess the way I see it is, there's been a lot of debate around this subject for many, many years. The reason it's happening now is, I guess, to a large extent, a result of the last election, and primarily around the larger issue around the 11 million undocumented workers. So now the H-1B legislation is a component in a much larger comprehensive immigration bill. The fact that the larger comprehensive bill is now being discussed, this is an aspect of that bill. So it's really, I would say the primary driver is the fact that both sides recognize the time is now, and the country really needs it. And I think there's a significant amount of debate that's happened around this subject, but there's recognition that the timing is the right timing, and if we don't do it now, as a country, we will probably not get to it anytime soon.